if you look at the statistics in terms of who makes, how the balance of power is being decided on democratic sort of countries, it's beyond that conversation when you go to other countries. But in the democratic countries, there seems to be a repeating pattern, right, where the balance is actually quite like the differences between the two blocks, let's call them, is quite narrow. And repeatedly you get, the government seems to at the moment swing into more backward way of thinking in terms of, how we're going to handle our future. Or often that is the case. It was marvelous to see the US extricate itself out of what was going on there before, but it was a close call. And so the numbers of voters at that 15 to 19-year-old, if you look at the statistics, and I've only looked in the US, in Australia before this call, but it's roughly about 10% or less actually in the US. It's about 20 million people are coming up the curve between the age of 15 and 19 for 170 odd million voters. And in Australia, it's 1.4 million for, I think it's 16 point something voters. So there is a lot of capacity with the right kind of education to swing decisions in the right, to demand action and then swing decisions within the governments fairly fast. We kind of like 4 or 5, sort of years away from having a decisive call on climate action if we did this right, ideally in that sort of age group. So I think, if I sort of reverse back and I said, if we started this 15 years ago, we would have had half of the voting population calling for it. And I think that's one of the reasons why that's not just, let's just get them ready for what's coming up as a shitstorm. No, let's help ourselves move the needle on decisions, because if they'll be informed, there'll be a voter power there that is worthwhile to engage.
Yes, so I think it's too early for me to make strong judgment about what you guys are capable of and how much you care. You care a lot more than most people I've dealt with, and that's very reassuring. But on the other hand, if it all comes down to how we're going to survive a certain level of damage that we can't influence, I'd rather put my energy elsewhere, because I'm more interested in what can we do to reduce the probability that we all die. And that level of damage is on the table right now.
I understand. But what I'm actually asking is, what do you want from this group? What can we do together in an actionable small steps to make this specifically work for us?
Yeah, and that's a judgment about your capabilities. Let's be honest.
It's not my capability, it's our capability. All I'm doing is providing a potential framework that can change. All I'm doing is bringing a group of people together that care. So it's not about what I can do. It's about, I can do very little, but as a group, we can do quite a lot.
We need to work together as a group. I understand
that's what it is.
It's necessary for us to learn to work together as a group and to work as a group. But even if that's already assumed, there still is a lot we don't yet know about what each of us could do if we really tried harder and had the support of the rest of the group.
But that's what the objective of that's the objective of this whole exercise. We won't know unless we take action.
Right, I agree with that.
Unless we
I don't think, Paul. Paul. I don't think we know what this group is capable of until we start biting into some.
How would we know? I mean, I don't know Herman from a bar of soap. I've spoken to him a lot. I mean, Jeff and I have been partners for 4 years, and I'm still learning about him. What do I know? But anyway, I get what you want to say.
And just a question to say, what like from Paul, what is it that what would each group want to, what would each person say, this is what they could do, what they'd like to see? So we haven't really asked that question quite at that level. We've sort of said what our interests are and what we think, but really to say, what's the most profound thing you'd like to see this group do and how you might contribute.
Yeah.
And then see if we actually have something together that we might all.
What we might do is actually, Jeff, if you've got this amazing ability to sort of distill what disparate people think and put it into sort of an action plan. So yeah, I'd love to
I
see
think
what
it's
your
fair.
thinking is. So I'll let
Right.
you share what you have to do, and then we can go from there.
All right, is that visible on screen?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it is.
All right, so this is just the synthesis of your comments. So purpose, a collaborative forum of climate change experts to provide large corps, industry associations, NGOs, investor communities, etc., with the tools, support, and inspiration to translate climate change commitments into actionable solutions. Right, that's the purpose. And I've just noted there that the forum needs to remain apolitical and science agnostic, because it's not a forum that's going to debate the science. It's about translating commitments into actionable solutions. Membership by invitation only, extended to those with a commitment to action and a proven track record in inspiring and assisting in the implementation of innovative climate change solutions. Right, so that's who we would want as members of the group. Target size, 10 to 15 members initially on an international basis. I think we need to acknowledge that the group may initially be convened on that basis, but then later down the track, it might split into either national or industry specific subgroups as membership grows. So I'm just sort of forecasting, sorry, my dogs are going crazy, but there may be some change there. In terms of meetings, the suggestion is, and you can change this as you want, the group could meet on a monthly basis. Every second month, you do a public forum where you invite as guests industry leaders, educators, climate change consultants, journalists, because there's always a risk when you invite journalists into the room. But if you want the work of this group to be widely recognized, journalists are the key to getting the word out there, and thought leaders, because the journalists and the thought leaders give you the one-to-many leverage to actually build the profile. The agenda of the meeting, you have a guest speaker. The guest speaker may be one of the people in the group, it may be an external person, but with a useful message to share on translating climate change commitments into actionable solutions.
Like fire starters.
Yep, you have a think tank, and then you have a key learnings review so that the people who attend the meeting actually leave the meeting with a to-do list. Okay, we would promote that forum to our database, and all of you would promote it to your connections and contacts, because the idea is to get as many people of influence as we can in the room to hear the message, share the discussion, and walk away with a to-do list that's going to make a difference.
So in respect to that, Jeff, I'll come back to it when you finished about the forum and the number of people. Sorry. Yep.
So objective, I've just put up as a straw man, 20 to 30 guests at each forum. You may decide you want 100, but that changes the dynamics. That forum provides members with the opportunity to meet, interact with, and influence guests in a non-threatening environment. We're not there to sell them anything. We're not there to preach to them. We're there to talk with them and help inspire them to take action. And then every alternate month, you would have a members only forum where you as a group got together without guests to talk about, plan, problem solve, collaborate, do what you need to do to say, how do we progress this thing? I think the benefits for the members, forgetting about the many benefits for the world, the benefits for the members are we can create a center of influence and thought leadership on climate change action. We can create a virtual firm of complementary experts that helps each of you to leverage your knowledge and skills and accelerate the translation of ideas into action. Because I think as a single phrase, accelerating the translation of ideas into action is the essence of the group. It provides a problem-solving forum, and it provides a refined lead nurturing process whereby you can bring your contacts, connections, let's call them prospects, into a forum where they can naturally move towards taking action rather than be seen to be pushed into buying something. So that's, my quick summary of what we've been talking about. I'm putting it up as a straw man.
Yeah, I'd want to be part of this forum.
Right. You guys need to look at that and say, does that, meet with what I think this group should be doing? And I think once you've got a straw man there, it's much easier to start tweaking and refining. But that's what I've extracted out of the discussion today.